There we go. It is up. I push that button and then I hold my breath while it spins around in circles for like who knows how long before it actually kicks in and says that I've actually gone live. Hello and welcome. I am Barbara Benson. I am an independent knitwear designer who likes to make videos and chat with people and have fun talking about Fibery goodness here on YouTube. I also have an Instagram. We have a Facebook page that I'd love to have people join because we can share pictures and exchange stuff. I have my own website. You can get my patterns through my website or Ravelry. It's just like a whole bunch of stuff. We already have Mark the bass player. Pretty excited about that. Hello, Deborah. You actually got a notification. See, you know what? Sometimes the technology gods smile upon us, and sometimes we are out of favor. I have not yet figured out exactly what makes those little gremlins happy. Hello, Marie. Nice to see you too. Hello, Elizabeth. So glad you've joined us. Hello, Sarah Jo. Very excited that everyone is coming in. September has been a completely bizarro month. It has been a little bit on the wild and woolly side. Show us your Riker. Oh, he's back there, isn't he? Where does his thing went away? Yeah, here's Riker. This is Riker, man. He is So there we go. Dun-da-da. Hello, Dazzling Creations. He needs like to be lint rollered or something. He's a bit he's not quite up to Federation standards. So the thing is, I have a son. I have one kid and he is a son. And while I was very much of the my parenting approach was don't care, whatever he wants to play with, he can play with. If he wants to play princess and dress up, if he wants to play cooking, if he wants to play house, if he wants to play race car, I didn't care. Just, you know what? Play whatever you want to play. And as soon as he was old enough to like manipulate things with his fingers, he would take like in the bathtub a piece of soap and go vroom, 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 and cars and everything. So when we introduced him to Star Trek, he absolutely loved Star Trek. But the problem was this was substantially before the JJ verse. And Next Generation, the only way to get the toys was actually as collectibles. I mean, they were expensive. So I talked to friends and got a hold of, because like the small action figures were actually really challenged to get a hold of because most people who had them, they were like new in package kind of situation. So we ended up getting quite a few of these like G.I. Joe sized ones. We have Worf, we have Picard, we have Data. I think we have Geordi, and these are the ones he played with because it's the ones that we could buy for under like $120. So when I needed small like scale things to model knitwear on, I don't have Barbie dolls in my house, but I have Riker. So that is how Riker has become a part of the process. So he wears shawls very jauntily. I figured of all of them, Riker was the one most likely to be able to sport these kind of outfits. So hello, there he is. Let's put him back. Make sure he stands up. There we go. Who else came in? Hello, Heather. Welcome. Hello, Jenna in Cincinnati. Hello, Wendy in Michigan. Good evening, Natalie. Thank you so much for joining me, Natalie. Natalie Servant, if it's who I think it is, I'm pretty much going to fangirl a little bit here. Natalie Servant is one of my favorite designers. She does absolutely beautiful stuff. I wish I still could do screen share so I could show you some of them, but you definitely have to go look at her stuff. She does, I've obviously drawn to a lot of Art Deco and Art Nouveau stuff, and she does some really interesting things in that area. Oh, you like the story, Marie? So if you like that, Marie. So Marie liked the story about Star. So the thing is, So when my son was about 5-ish years old, my husband and I had to have a very serious discussion about, so we could come to terms and make sure that our parenting uh, um, approach was going to be the same. And we had to decide, really a monumental decision for the education of our child, is, were we going to introduce Star Wars or Star Trek first? Because it was a big deal. We had to decide. It was important. And we definitely went with Star Trek, because Star Wars, again, especially for like a 5 or 6 year old, Star Wars is really like, it's war. I mean, we don't think of it that way, but it's about war. It's about rebellion. It's about killing people. People's arms get cut off. It's very violent. And Star Trek is about exploring, you know? And then once we made that decision, we had to have the discussion of, okay, are we going to start him off with the original series or Next Generation? And pretty much how that shook out is, Next Generation is really about exploring and new worlds and all this cool science stuff. And and the original series is really shooting aliens and kissing green ladies. So we decided against the original series and we went with Next Generation. So, and that's how we ended up with Riker and Worf and Data. Data was his favorite. We did not show him the episodes with lore because we thought that would scare him, because it's pretty intense and he was a little young for that. Deborah says she made one of the shawls Riker was wearing. That's hilarious. Oh, your son had Star Wars figures. See, Jenna, you have to make a decision though. You gotta choose. Are you going to be a Star Wars family? Or are you going to be a Star Trek family? And I'm not judging your choice. It's just everybody has to make their own decision. I should knit tiny hats for Picard. I'll see if I can do that. I got to find Picard. I think I know where he is. Fixed moment of time for me. My elder granddaughter sent me a sex-themed Trek joke featuring Data. I believe the line is, it's like, are you functional? Fully functional. It's very hilarious. No, the original Marie, I 100% agree with you. She said that the original series didn't age well. It doesn't. The original series really didn't age well. I tried to go back and watch a little bit of it, and I decided I'd rather keep my fond memories of it intact and not go back and watch it, because it didn't age well. The movies are fine. And to completely maybe make people angry, my favorite of the original cast series movies is the first movie, the very first Star Trek movie, which my son watched and he called it Rainbow Star Trek, because the picture on the front of the CD, the DVD we had the teleporter effect, and it was rainbow. And he'd be like, I want to watch Rainbow Star Trek. I'm like, well, it's not called that, but we'll do it. Yeah. Your son met Brett Spiner? Oh, that's very cool. And he acted like Data. Brett Spiner is really cool. If you want to see something hilarious, you can probably find it on YouTube. One of the very first things that Brett Spiner did was, he was a regular, like a repeat character. Not like with any frequency, but he showed up 2 or 3 times on Night Court. If you remember Night Court, and he played this bumpkin, and it is so funny to see him being this incredibly low intelligence, really thick Southern accent. I mean, it's really a stereotype, but it's amusing. So, your kids wanted to watch old black and white movies? Hey, whatever floats their boats. When I was in middle school, I had a really, like, how people you always had posters of whatever popular boy group was out there, or popular boy actors and things like that. I had actually, and got at Spencer's Gifts, a life size, and we're talking like a 6 foot tall poster, black and white poster of Humphrey Bogart, because I thought he was just the coolest looking dude I think I only ever watched like Casablanca, but just the trench coat, the fedora. I mean, he was just cool. So I had a poster of Humphrey Bogart like across the room from my Duran Duran posters. Kids are weird. Kids are super weird. Yeah, Night Court was great. Apparently, this rebooted it, but not so much. Turner Classic Movies, yes. Bogey was cool, man. He was just cool. He didn't really talk a lot, but he just exuded cool. So here's fun. Dazzling Creations. So I used to work for a graphic design company in Atlanta, and Turner Classic Movies was actually one of our big um was one of our big customers. So we did a lot of the like print ads, and we did design, and we designed, they used to send out, like a TV guide style booklet to people who subscribed to TCM. They would get a monthly paper booklet that told them what movies were on, and we would do that. That is what we did. But the really cool thing was, is I was a project manager. I'm not a graphic designer, no, but I was a project manager. And one of the really cool things about it was TCM would send over the visual materials that we would need to use and scan and to use for our layouts and design of the magazine. And they would be sending stuff like they had a month that featured like Ella Fitzgerald or something, and they would be sending over these black and white photographs that were like some of the original photographs and original still photographs from these old movies and everything. And these aren't copies, because we needed to scan from like the most pristine. So I would have to check them in and log them and make sure we took care of them and make sure they got back to where they needed to go. We even did we worked a lot with PBS, and we did Ken Burns Jazz. We did the DVD case for the multi-set. And when that came in and I had to log it in, it was all of these original photographs, like the one of Louis Armstrong with the trumpet. Or if you look at that packaging, all of those photographs, all those black and white photographs, we had them because we had to scan to really high quality so that we could print. We could make the digital files that they were going to print from. So it was really cool to be able to go through all of that old photography and memorabilia and everything. It was a really interesting job. Andy Gibb, also good. Dazzling Paul Newman and Shirley MacLaine, great combo. You used to get that booklet, Dazzling Creations, so there you go. So I worked for the company that we made the digital file that we would send to the printer, and then so we're like the graphic design person. Clint Eastwood and High Plains Drifter, also very cool. Arnetta. It was a really cool job. We did all of, so this was when they were still doing VHS tapes and DVDs were kind of new. We did all the packaging for the PBS. Like at the end, if you watch a PBS show and at the end of it is like, if you would like a video of this to watch however many times you want, call us and order it. And so we made the sleeve, the art for the videos and DVDs, and the Ken Burns. We did jazz. We did New York. We did Ken Burns New York. We did Ken Burns Jazz while I was there. We did a lot with TCM. We did a lot with TNT, a lot of the Turner, because Turner is in Atlanta. We had TCM, TNT, all of that kind of stuff. It was an interesting and stressful job. Wheel Trish, it sounds like an amazing job, but I'm just telling you the fun parts. Being in that kind of stuff, it's really high stress because, everybody procrastinates their part of the job until it's your emergency. And then you have half the amount of time you need to get something done because the printer has to get something done. It was a cool job. It was, but it was a fairly high stress job. Brett Michaels, excellent. You had a standing movie theater cut out of Captain Jack Sparrow? That is fantastic. If I had that, I would 100% be taking pictures on it for my knitting stuff. And you would go on Ravelry and see that. It'd be hilarious. used to be in publications, so it's a very interesting mixture of, wow, this is cool, and oh my god, I need to hide under a bush someplace. Um, life is a group project, Marie. I think life is a group project. You know what? I didn't fluff my hair. Sorry, y'all. My hair is looking bad. There we go. I went to the gym today and it was wet earlier than it was wet later, so it didn't. There we go. Does that look better? There we go. David Cassidy and Jerry Garcia. That is a bit of a jump, Deborah. Those are two very different vibes you got going there. But we all evolve. You did the research and scared up the photos. Wow. No, it was nice to have the photos just rolling up into the house. Trying to find stuff was worth. Okay. So does anyone have any knitting questions? Knitting questions, yarn. I'm not real sure why I'm feeling kind of overexposed. Let me. Nope, that's not the button I wanted. I'm opening up my webcam software. Oop, there he goes. I think that helped. Did I just suddenly change colors? I feel a little less overexposed. There we go. But now I think I'm super high contrast. It helped a little bit. Okay. Have I watched Star Trek Discovery? I have a tattoo in the handwriting of one of the actors. That is amazing, Sarah Jo. Yes, I will always talk pop culture. I watched the first season of Discovery. I absolutely loved the different Klingons and seeing the different tribes of Klingons. I just kind of fell off. I have an attention span issue, significant, and if I watch this whole thing, where like if I can binge watch something, I normally can get through it. But if at any point in time I stop watching it, it's very difficult for me to go back and start watching it again. So I never picked it up. In the second season, my husband, well, I think I watched a couple episodes. My husband watched the whole thing, and then he watched Picard, and now he's watching Strange New Worlds and the cartoon one, Below Decks. Super funny. I did watch the crossover episode, and that was funny. Elizabeth wants me to talk about the retreat. Hello, Heidi. You are watching a Fave 5. Thank you so much. Okay, Minnesota. Slip stitch patterns that aren't necessarily mosaic. Okay, so Elizabeth and Dazzling Creations, I'm putting a pin in you. If I don't pick it up, I'm going to answer these two questions, but we'll come back to that. So what I would do to find slip stitch patterns that are not mosaic is I would go to Ravelry. I am doing it in the other window. Ravelry, and then there is actually a button under, if you go to the advanced and you go to the advanced filter and you go to attributes, under fabric characteristics, there's actually a button to push for slipped stitches. Okay, so which I just did. But then what I'm going to do is if you go down at the very bottom, it says and match all of these. You can click advanced again. And so I got slip stitches and not, I'm going to do not mosaic. So, which narrowed it down to 553 pages. So what else do you want to know? But there's a lot of stuff here that is, so it would take a lot. There's a lot of socks here. There's a lot of stuff. And so I would just go through and search and see. I mean, you could go in and specifically say, and not any kind of color work, and you could go through and find that. Did you want color work or just not mosaic? Okay. And the other thing is the book. I showed you guys the book last week, I think. Well, last month. This one. if you can maybe check it out in the library. This is The Art of Slip Stitch Knitting by Fiona Goberstein and Simona Merchant Dest. And this has a lot of really cool, and looking for either of these designers on Ravelry will get you a lot of interesting. Now, obviously, this thing on the cover is more mosaic, but there's a lot of really interesting non-mosaic style color work and solid work in that book. Color blending. I don't know. I don't know about color blending, but it would take some searching. Hello, Darlene. Okay, Jenna, I have 3 yarns that I could put together to do a sort of fade for impulse buy, but they do not really fade into each other. Should I alternate them for a few rows between color blocks? If you want them to, I mean, if you don't mind stripes, if they're really distinct, yes, I would stripe them or just change them, and it would just be a color. It'd be like a block, a block, a block. You know, you color blocking is cool, but otherwise, yeah, when you feel like you have, decide how many stripes you want, and when you feel like you have about that much left, start working stripes and then just continue once you run out of color A, and just see how you like it. But yeah, you could definitely go, if you don't mind like a hard line, you can just go directly, or you can stripe it in. Heidi, there were some slip stitch projects in the last Fave 5. You watched it more recently than I did, so you'd know better than me. Darlene wants to know what my thoughts about Knit Companion are. I know a lot of people who absolutely swear by it. A lot of my patterns are Knit Companion. They're in the Knit Companion, like they've prepared it for it. I know a lot of people who find it incredibly useful. I know that the people who own it and run it are absolutely lovely, lovely people, and they treat designers really, really well. Any pattern bought through their interface, they actually pay the designer full price for it. And what I mean by that is, like, if you buy a pattern from me through Ravelry and it's $7, PayPal takes a chunk, Ravelry takes a little chunk. I mean, their chunks taken out. The way that Knit Companion pays designers, they pay full price for it. They essentially, they don't get a discount. They just buy it full price through Ravelry. So it's really cool. Because if they took a chunk, then that would be yet another chunk coming out of it. So I really like them. I don't use it, but that's not because I see anything wrong with it or I have any problems with it. It's just I'm writing the patterns as I go. So there's no way to put them into Knit Companion because it's not a pattern yet. I'm never really knitting from, I mean, there's a free part of it and there's a paid for part, but it is a very well supported, well thought out program that a lot of people won't knit if they only knit from it. So I have nothing but good things to say about Knit Companion, but I do not use it myself because I don't knit from existing patterns, if that makes any sense. Hello, Gwen in Toronto. Hello, Renee in Tennessee. See, Trish here loves Knit Companion. Arnetta loves Knit Companion. People who like Knit Companion, like, really like Knit Companion. So that's great. Wheel Trish says, when people ask what is my favorite knitting tool, I say it's my iPad. And I can really, really see that. It works really well. Okay. Hello. I think it's Elena. Ask about gauge in the quatrefoil cap. Thank you so much. Hang on. Give me a second. I have my book. Let me check it. Oh, darn it. Where is it? I'm checking on the gauge for quatrefoils on page 71. The glasses I have on are my computer glasses, which are mid-range glasses. 14 stitches and 24 rows over 4 inches. And this is a DK weight yarn. So yeah, on a size 7. So almost all the patterns in this book are being, don't know where to put this. You just stay over there. All of the patterns in that book, because of the mosaic, are being worked at a looser gauge than you typically would work whatever weight of yarn it is. If you have to go up needle sizes to get the gauge, you should not use more yarn. So the yarn computations are based on that gauge. Where you would use more or less yarn is if your gauge was off. So say you use the 7 that the pattern calls for and you got a tighter gauge. Instead of 14 stitches, you were getting like 20 stitches. That could conceivably, well, that's going to make the hat too small. And it's going to conceivably use a different amount of yarn. But if you change your needle size to get the stated gauge, then you should be just fine on yarn usage. Now, I do want to double check with you, and I do discuss gauge. So it is a blocked gauge, so that 14 stitches is a blocked gauge, and since the piece is knit in the round, your swatch needs to be in the round, I think. Or did I say something special? Let me check my own notes. What do I say in here? See a note on gauge on page 12. I don't know. Okay. Okay. So, but yeah, it is definitely, I didn't say anything. It is definitely a blocked gauge. So if you have not blocked your swatch, I mean, maybe you have, but if you have not, typically when you block a swatch, it grows. So you might actually, depending on, so you're saying you need to go up sizes. So that means you're getting too many stitches per inch. So you might want to make sure that you've blocked your gauge swatch, and you might get more stitches than you expect once it is blocked. But if you are on gauge, you should not have any issues with yarn usage. Did any of that make sense? Gwen, you are learning to make one right and left using cables, and you did a banyan tree first time. Whoa, that sounds like a lot of fun. And so we got another vote for Knit Companion from Dazzling Creation. Knit Crochet Tiger. Have I ever used Envision Knit? What are your thoughts? It's the program I use. Envision Knit is the charting program I use. I have used it since probably 2012, 2013. It's my favorite. It's the one I use. I have not seen any reason to not use it. I specifically chose it because when I was looking at again, in like 2012, the options were kind of narrow. Envision It was relatively new. And one of the primary things I wanted to make sure is that I was able to output to SVG because I need scalable vector graphics for my charts. I didn't want to end up with pixelation and things like that. And because some of the other programs, I needed to be able to manipulate both the color work and like the symbols in the same time. And at least one of the other programs, if I was doing color work and assigning colors to the squares, it wouldn't let me, when I put like a yarn over symbol, it would just block it out white. I couldn't have both color and symbol information on it. So that was a problem for me trying to do both. But I have found Envision It to do everything I want. And when I have ever had any issues, I email, and they're really great on customer support. They've helped me and gotten me where I needed to go. So 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up on Envision It. You watch videos on your iPad. So putting the copper on the marker board. Yes, I love those maker boards. I do mine in paper. I do everything. Heidi Cook is asking, what is Knit Companion? So Knit Companion is a computer, it's an app that you can get that is you can import your PDF into it, and you can set up all kind. You can enlarge charts. You can set up markers like different lines. You can highlight certain colors. You have a little line that shows you, like, that moves, that shows you what row you're on. It has like a counter in it. It has, and they just keep adding more and more and more um, utility to the thing, but it is a pattern management app, I think is the best way to put it. You can set everything up yourself, or they have an online store where they have patterns that are already preset up for you to manipulate, and so you don't have to do it from scratch. But it's a pattern management software that you can use to assist you in your knitting, to track repeats, to track rows, to do counters and things like that, so that you know where you are, instead of the little turny wheelie things and the little clicky things and everything. Knit Crochet Tiger, feature love most about Envisionet is versatility, allowing you to create your own custom stitches. Yes, I create my own custom stitches, and that is something I like in that. It is a great it is, it's the one I use. Okay, can anyone answer Heidi's question if she could make the font extra large in Knit Companion? We've had several people who said they use Knit Companion, and I cannot definitively answer that. I know you can enlarge the charts, but I don't know specifically, and I don't want to answer. But if anyone can answer Heidi, if you can enlarge the fonts in Knit Companion, because I know that would be useful for you, Heidi. So Trish says yes. Do you? All I do is pink. Pink is a great color. So Trish, do you know if it has other accessibility? Oh, pinch out. There you go. So do this to make it. I'm guessing it has some other accessibility options to it. I would be surprised if they didn't incorporate that. They're really nice. You can blow up any portion of the pattern. So there we go, Heidi. Yes, you can blow up stuff. That sounds kind of bad. I don't want to blow up my iPad. Okay, so Elizabeth, hi, Trish. People, Sarah Jo, how do you feel about people on TikTok calling it a tump to duck stitch? By people, you mean just Randy. It was lovely. I think it's funny, and I really like that he enjoys and really, a lot of my shawl patterns have that. It's not the exact same thing every time. I will customize it so it fits well into the repeat, but I get bored with garter. I get really bored with garter, and I'm like, let's throw some pearls in here occasionally. It's just like, woo. You saw someone else? I would love to see that. So what Sarah Jo is mentioning is there is a lovely knitter on TikTok who is knitting a grin without a cat. And like a lot of knitters, he really couldn't leave well enough alone. And he's actually doing the lace, well, he's finished, in intarsia, which I'm like, you do you, bud. That is not something I would do. I mean, it looks awesome, but it's not something I would have chosen to do because stress. But he made a video commenting that he enjoyed the texture stitch that I used for the body of a grin without a cat. And it's one of the ones I just make up as a filler stitch. So a lot of shawls, y'all know, a lot of shawls have large swaths of either stockinette or garter is the most common. And garter helps things lay flat. And I understand that a lot of people don't like to purl. So I do garter sometimes, but when I'm doing something of a good size, a lot of times I nod off when I'm knitting too much garter. So what I've done, and I did it in Earthbound Misfit, I did it in Bitter Blue, I did it in Ready Player One, I will just make up a knit purl combination. So a lot of times it'll be like, and what I'll do is I'll fit it to the repeat. So like what I'll do is it'll be a 6-row repeat. So it'll be knit rows 1 through 5 are knit, are knit, and then row 6 will, and it'll be one coming back, will be a knit purl row. And it just adds a little bit of texture. Sometimes I do back and forth where it's like 3 rows of knit and then a knit purl row. I just throw in a knit purl row just to give myself something to do. And it just creates a little bit more of a visual texture. And it takes, garter really compacts on itself and it kind of loosens it up a little bit. And this lovely gentleman who was knitting it, he's like, I couldn't find this stitch anywhere else, so I'm calling it the Tump Duck Stitch, which is my company name. And it was really funny. And so it was really sweet of him. So that is really funny. So you know what, Jenna? So are you talking about the one in the center panel? Jenna said, I love the texture stitch you use in Cloudy in Paris. Are you talking about the center panel or are you talking about the one on the wings? Because if you're talking about the one on the wings, that is 100% what I'm talking about. It's something that I just make up. It's like, we'll do some garter rows and then some not garter rows just to keep my brain engaged. Because I can't do it. I can't do all garter all the time. And I know a lot of people like all garter all the time, but it's not me. I am not an all garter all the time. You know what? And I've even forgotten what I did in Cloudy in Paris. Yes. Yeah, Cloudy in Paris it's got some stockinette, and I'm like, oh, we could do just a little bit of this garter row. It's boredom. The wings. I'm glad you like that, Jenna. It is very much one of my yeah, just kind of throw some stuff at it so that I don't fall asleep. It's how I knit. But I mean, garter looks great. I'm not knocking anybody's garter. And if you love garter, I mean, garter is a autopilot kind of thing. I just you bored. I've said that several times. Okay. Okay, so Minnesota. Everything got to Minnesota just fine, which was wonderful. I managed to make it there with a minimum of fuss, which, as y'all know, and as I mentioned last time, the traveling stresses me out the most. I got there. I met a lovely Kira K Designs, and we shared. She's got beautiful, beautiful stuff. Does a lot of really cool crochet stuff. We shared a van type situation to the Crown Plaza. We were at the Crown Plaza Friday night. There was a like knitters meet and greet kind of situation. And before I left, I was contemplating and I was like, you know what? Should I wear my tiara? I mean, hey. And I asked my son, and my son was like, you should totally wear your tiara. So I took my tiara. I have a knitting tiara, and I took it. And so I changed out of my clothes from my travel clothes and rested for a while in my room. And then I got dressed up. I put on my fancy new boots and I put on my tiara and I went downstairs with my knitting bag and sat down with some people and chatted and then talked to a whole bunch of great people. And it was a lot of fun. Obviously got a lot of feedback on the tiara. I mean, you don't wear a tiara expecting no one to notice. It's just not something that people are just going to gloss over if you're wearing a tiara. But the really funny part about the tiara was I wore it and obviously comments. And the first, and someone's like, oh, I like your tiara. Oh, I like your tiara. And then the third person to comment on it, can you see the tiara? I'll go get it. So the third person to comment on the tiara jokingly, okay, 100% jokingly said, ha ha ha, nice tiara. Is it your birthday? And I was like, why, yes, it is. It is my birthday, which is why my son encouraged me to wear my tiara because it was my birthday and I can wear a tiara on my birthday. And the shocked look on this woman's face was absolutely hilarious. I was like, "Yes, it is my birthday." And she's like, "Oh, because she was saying it as a joke." And then I was like, "Yes, it's my birthday." And she was like, "Oh my goodness, happy birthday." So it was funny. And so then throughout the night, like every third or fourth person who made a comment about the tiara would make the joking comment, "Hey, is it your birthday?" And I'd be like, "Yep, it's my birthday." And they were like, "What?" And so it was pretty funny. I will go get the tiara. Okay. I am a Virgo. I am indeed a Virgo. So this is my tiara. I don't know if you can see. You probably can't see. So they're little silver. It's a little bent from being in my suitcase. So they're these little silver beads. And so this one is PURLYBIRD. It says Pearly Bird because it's from a conference I went to that was a very small conference, and the organizer of it said that the first 5 people to sign up to buy, tickets to the conference would get a tiara. And so I was like, on it. And so I was one of the 5 people that she handmade this this knitting tiara for. And it's because I was a pearly bird. So that's my tiara. So I wore my tiara. It was hilarious. It's very delicate. So I was very careful getting, I can't get it. I don't wear a tiara frequently enough to be able to get it to sit correctly. There we go. I think that's good. So that's my tiara. So that was lovely. I was super excited. I got to meet Alexandra Davidoff, who was really fun. I met Lisa K. Ross, who was absolutely amazing and substantially taller than I expected her to be. I met Corey Eisenberg, I think. I met a lot of really fun people. And then I met a whole bunch of people. I met a gentleman who watches here. His name was Jacob. Yes, I think it was Jacob. I don't know. Started with a J. A lot of wackiness. Practicing. You gotta practice. Pearly Bird gets the yarn. Yes, it does. Yes, we got to practice wearing our tiaras. So there we go. So that was it was a lot of fun. Stayed up a while talking and knitting. Then on Saturday I had 2 classes. The morning class was tips and tricks for working with variegated yarn, and that class went swimmingly. Wheel Trish. I was Miss Wheelchair Maryland a long time ago, and the tiara used to give you a headache. Oh, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Yeah, this does not give a headache. This is like this weighs nothing. But I think over time it would like how you get indentations. So the morning class was lovely. We had a lot of fun playing with variegated yarns. And then the afternoon class the afternoon class was full. Apparently it had sold out like 2 months ago. And that was the Mosaic and Lace boot camp class. And it went really well. The knitters in Minnesota are very accomplished, and everybody in the class had all the prerequisites. Always a fun thing when you're dealing with a more of an intermediate level class. There's always the concern that people may or may not have paid attention to like prerequisites. Like the Mosaic and Lace class, you have to know how to read a chart. You're not going to make it through the class if you don't know how to read a chart. And I have had people who show up for the class who didn't know how to read a chart, and they're just going to be floundering the whole time. And I can't hold their hand the whole time because we have a lot of information to get through, but I try my best. So that went well. No, yeah, you can't make little kids sad, Trish. You got to wear it. You got to wear the crown. You got to wear the crown. So, really actually funny. Actually, we're still going to chat for a while. If you haven't done the little thumbs up thing, you might want to consider letting YouTube know that you're enjoying the live stream, and that they might want to suggest it to other people by clicking the thumbs up. That's just lets people know. The commenting, you guys chatting, makes me super happy, but it also that's engagement, and it makes YouTube know that people are actively engaged in it. And it's like, hey, let's bump this up in the algorithm. And then also the thumbs up and stuff, it bumps it in the algorithm. Sharing it will bump it in the algorithm. YouTube's annoying. So it was actually really funny though in the class. Very early on in the class, a student asked a very reasonable question, but that pushed one of my buttons. It pushed a hot button on me. And the students, there were 20 students in this class, the students found it incredibly amusing that it was a hot button for me, and then proceeded to spend the rest of the 3 hours randomly pushing that button on me. And it was quite funny. One of the students was showing me something, and she was trying to do something, and she's like, oh, this yarn over slip, it's like brioche. And I'm like, it's not brioche. This is not brioche. Do not think that this is brioche, because it's going to cause problems for you. And she's like, but it this and that. I'm like, it's not brioche. I got a little agitated. Like, this is not brioche. It is nothing like brioche. And so then for the rest of the class, somebody would be doing something, and I'd pass a sample around, and they'd be like, oh, this is like brioche. And I'd be like, it's not brioche. They just kept doing it. And they found it very funny to antagonize me about it being brioche. So that tells you what the class was like. It was a lot of fun. Students are always fun like that. Well, no, students aren't always fun like that, but they were fantastic. And then we had dinners. We had a teacher's dinner, and that's always really nice to talk to people, because I know we have some designers in the chat. Designing is a very solitary kind of thing. You're kind of sitting in your own space doing your own thing, and being able to be in a space with multiple other designers and talk shop is actually really a great thing. It really gives you different perspectives, and it kind of pumps you up. It makes you a little bit more excited, because staggering around in the dark by yourself can get really frustrating. Sitting in a room with other people and the lights on, much more pleasant. So there's that. And then got home just fine. And so that was the event. It was really lovely. Yes, Michelle, only brioche is brioche. Brioche is very delicious bread also, yes. You know, Veronica, that is funny. I don't knit brioche at all. And the thing is, and one of the reasons why it's a hot button for me, is because one of the reasons I came up with the whole idea of combining mosaic, slip stitch, colorwork, and lace is because colorwork is not something that can really be effectively worn in the South except for very specific times of the year, because it's something that's designed, it's thick. It's to keep you warm. So the lace that I worked into all of this mosaic is to open up and lighten the lace and move it into more of a multi-seasonal technique for people who live in the South in warm weather. But I mean, even for people who live in the North, it is color work that can be done and worn in warm weather. And brioche makes a double thick fabric. Brioche is like the opposite. It's like the opposite of what I was trying to do. Brioche is beautiful, but it makes a heavy double-sided fabric. So I get a little agitated when people say what I'm doing is like brioche. Visually, it might present on the right side like brioche, and sometimes, but as soon as you turn it inside out, it's only one layer. And a lot of the pieces, if you look at them and you think about how much you would think they would weigh, and then you actually hold them, they're specifically designed to be lighter and easier to wear in warm weather. So that's why I get all agitated about brioche. And I don't knit brioche at all. I don't even know how to knit brioche. I have books on it, and I have basic concepts, but it's not something I do. It does look so very squishy. But it is very thick. It is very thick, and it takes time because you're essentially knitting every single row twice. Um, okay, Deborah, I want to knit a pattern from a now worn out retail cardigan I love. Is there a tool besides graph paper that you would suggest? Um, that is a advanced level kind of thing, I'm afraid, and you're just gonna have to, like, use, measuring tape and measure it and count stitches and try to get a look at it. I wouldn't know the first thing about reverse engineering a retail cardigan. I'm afraid I don't do garments, so I wouldn't know how to design a cardigan in the first place. But trying to look at especially a mass produced, because you don't know if it was machine made or not, could be a challenge. If it is completely worn out, you might be able to pick it apart at the seams. If it's a seamed piece, if it is completely worn out, you might be able to pick it apart at the seams and, like, make paper patterns out of it, like trace it, and then get a better idea of what you're trying to do schematically. Um, but yeah, if it needs graph paper, it needs graph paper. You got to be careful with graph paper. I would encourage you to go online and look for knitting graph paper because knit stitches are not square. If you use regular graph paper, you're not necessarily going to get the right proportions because the knit stitch is actually taller than it is wide. It's actually a little rectangle, not a square. And if you chart things out on actual graph paper, it might not do what you want it to do. But you can go online if you just Google knitting graph paper, and you can find digital versions of it that you can just print out. That's just one thing I would mention for graph paper. You mean alpaca sweater in brioche? Oh my gosh, that's got to be the warmest thing that you ever existed, and I'm sure it's when you wear it. When you wear it, does it get like substantially longer? Does it grow when you wear it? Do you end up with sleeves like this? Yeah, that's some. That's gonna be super warm. Knit crochet tiger. If you knit brioche, my first tip: do not use a yarn that grows or has a fuzzy halo. And Mark, the bass player, is saying, "Now you tell me." Yeah, I would never knit brioche with like mohair. And the other thing about brioche is if you make a mistake in brioche, you're kind of hosed. It's really hard to fix brioche. I mean, I know that Leslie Robinson teaches a class on fixing mistakes in brioche, but it is a challenging kind of thing. Um, okay, so it's a very open knit. Good luck. Good luck, Deborah. I'm sorry I can't be of more help. Um, used to live in Canada. Well, it would keep you warm in Canada. I love lace. Lace isn't hard. Well, lace isn't hard for me. Lace somehow works with how my brain works. Different things work with different people's brains. I'm not going to say it's not hard because if it's hard for you, it's hard for you. It's one of those things that, not everybody has the same perception of difficulty. Oh, you're frogging several rows from a brioche mistake. I am so sorry. My thoughts and prayers. It's rough. It looks awesome, Arnetta. I do not disagree. Brioche looks absolutely awesome. I just don't do it because I have no use for double thick fabric. It's just not something that I need in my life. um Okay, Elise, any tips on hiding ends in lace? So when I knit lace and I need to weave my ends, I make sure I leave very long ends to weave in. And what I try to do is I will work through kind of in a straight line until I get to a solid section and then duplicate stitch in that solid section is what I tend to do. Because you can usually find some sort of solid section in the lace. And that's just, why is my phone harassing me? I forgot to put my phone on do not disturb, so it confused me by buzzing. Um, and it's going to continue to buzz, so it's just going to stay over there. No, let me put it over here. I was afraid that the buzzing was coming through my desk and into my mic. My mic sits on my desk, and I didn't want you guys to be listening and be like, buzz, buzz. You don't need buzz, buzz. So I hope you weren't drinking anything, Sarah Joe. Um, but yeah, so I go through, and like if I have to hop through actual lace, what I'll do is I'll thread it. When you have yarn overs, the the little bars are like this. I'll thread it through the bar, so just try to keep it there. And again, I will go in a straight line until I find like a little diamond or something that I can weave it in. Another option you can do is if it is a plied yarn, you can separate the plies and weave the plies in separately in different directions. And that can be helpful. And since it's a smaller amount of yarn, it can be easier to hide. Knit Crochet Tiger is recommending lifelines for brioche. It's a good thing for lace as well. Okay, weaving in ends and joining yarns. Karen, could you elaborate on your? I think you're saying that you would also like to know about weaving in ends, but I'm not sure about the joining yarns part of the program. When I bring in a yarn, I don't join. I don't join yarn. What I do is I will get to the point where I have, I know I'm going to have like this much yarn, and then I bring in my new ball, and then right up close to the needle, I tie the two yarns together in like a half bow, so it'll be easy to pull out, and then I just start knitting with the second ball of yarn. And then I've got two long tails that are tied together in a bow. You line up the tail of each one, like the end of each one. So it's the very end of the first ball and the very beginning of the second ball tied in a little bow. And I just start knitting with the next one. And then when it comes time to weave in ends, I just go find that little bow on the back of my my work. And I use I use it to complete the stitch and then weave the ends in opposite directions. So that's I don't do any kind of Russian join or magic join or knot or anything like that. I just leave a lot of end and weave it in. So I don't do any joining. You always can do joining, but I've never felt that it needed to happen. I don't tie knots, and if that works for you, but for me, whenever I tie knots, they always end up working their way to the front of the work, and they're going to be visible. And I'm too much of a control freak for that. I don't want to see knots. I don't like it when they're on the front. But that's just again my personal. Somehow, when I block them, they always kind of. It's just they end up and they end up with a knot right on the face of my work, and it drives me bonkers. Okay, so I answered a question Karen didn't ask. Well, you got more information, more bang for your buck. Oh, so it's what I meant. Excellent. You know what, everybody, Marie, I know a lot of people who weave in as they go. Everybody has their own way of doing stuff, and if it works for you, go for it. That is what works for you. Weaving in ends is not something I've ever been able to do on the fly. Like the weaving Steven and stuff like that has never been effective for me. I do a lot of things the hard way because it's the way that works for me. And that doesn't mean it's the right way. The right way is the way that works for you. Do you weave the old forward and the new backward? Did you see the hamster in the wheel? That question is mind bending. So, no, I don't. So what I would be doing is so it'd be the old yarn, which is going to be on the left-hand side of the stitch. And I would finish the stitch from left to right and then weave it. So it would be this direction. So if you're looking at it from the right side, it kind of would be going, I don't know, it continues in this direction. And then the new yarn would be on the right-hand side of the stitch. And again, I finish the U and then I'm going to weave it in this. Well, and the thing is I don't just weave it in the dish. So I'm going to weave it in this direction and then I'm going to go up a couple rows and then I'm going to weave it back this way. So realistically, what it's going to look like is this, this, and this. So I always change direction when I'm weaving in, because if something gets snagged and starts coming out, it very rarely is going to make two right-hand turns to try to weave itself out. It's really overkill probably, but again, it's what I do. I specifically was talking about weaving. Of course I watch Stephen West. Who doesn't watch Stephen West? Stephen West is hilarious. Can I make a video on joining technique? That's a good idea. Let me write a note because I don't know what to make videos on anymore. It might take a little bit because those kind of videos, the issue is I got to knit before I can get to that point, and just coming up with, getting ready, the prep for those kind of things sometimes take time. If it works for you, it's not hard. You know what? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So what we got? He is great at knitting. He is an amazing marketer. He's a great dancer. He has brought a completely different viewpoint to the world of knitting and really changed knitting. So it's necessary. I mean, as a designer, I feel it is important for me to at least have a vague idea of what's going on with other designers and what's popular. I know that there are a lot of designers out there who are like, I don't look at anybody else's stuff and I just do my own thing. And that's fine. And I didn't mean to, I was doing a funny voice. That wasn't a judgy voice. If that's what works for you, that works for you. But while I'm not going to copy anyone, being informed about what is going on in the design world and the trends and what people are liking and changes that are happening, it's just I'm a big proponent of more information is good. If a little information is good, then more information is good. And being I don't have a problem with being influenced in knowing what the knitting world is talking about and doing. I think it's important to me to have. I don't know if Natalie's still here, but if she is, she could weigh in, or any other designer, because I can totally see the argument in both directions, that you don't want to be influenced by other people. But I think that growing and learning from other people, the funny thing is there are designs that I've done that a design has popped up by someone else, and I glance at it and I'm like, oh, that is really cool. They did XYZ and that is really neat. And I'm like, oh, that's neat. And but then I go and look at it, and the thing I saw is not actually what they did. I perceived it in a very different way. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No, that's folded over there. And that's not at all what I thought was going on there. But the thing that I thought was going on there was very exciting to me, and it sent me off in a tangent in a completely different direction. So it's kind of funny, because it's kind of like, those drawings, it's like, did you see the horse first or the dog first? Or I see something that's not actually there, but it sends me off in a direction that makes me end up doing something that I really enjoy or have fun with. So, did I know that Tom Hardy playing Bane in the third Crystal? I don't watch Batman films, but that's an interesting factoid, Knit Crochet Tiger. Tom Hardy playing Bane in the third Chris Nolan Batman film was knitting in the movie. That is super cool. Batman knitting is awesome. I don't watch those movies. I don't personally care for violence in movies. Just not my cup of tea. These darker movies where everything's getting blown up and people are punching each other and all that kind of stuff. It's not it's not what I like. It's not what I like to watch. I like I don't even know what I like. I haven't really seen. You know what? The most recent movie I saw was on the airplane, and I guess it's completely against what I just said. I watched the Into the Spider-Verse, the multiverse movie, the Spider-Man, but it's a cartoon and it's very stylized, and there wasn't too much punching. But it's beautiful because I love animation. Um, but yeah, I haven't watched a whole lot of movies in quite some time, so I'm afraid my a lot of my pop culture stuff is out of date. But the Batmans are just too dark for me. There you go, her dazzling creation. I follow other yarn dyers not to copy but to support, and that really is it. Like Robert Patterson. You know what? There are actors that I love. I have not seen Barbie. I honestly have not seen a movie in a movie theater in a very, very long time. Um, I honestly can't even think of the last one it was. It's just not. I I don't do well with crowds, so that is not a thing. Um, I can't even think of the last movie I saw in the theater. Um, okay, yeah, no, the old Batman show. That is awesome. And honestly, the Michael Keaton Batman, the first, like the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, and Jack Nicholson Batman fan. Where does he get all these fabulous toys? And with Prince in the soundtrack, yeah, that was amazing. Bright, colorful Batman, I'm all over it. Dark, broody, possible with nipples on the thing, not my Batman. And let me tell you, okay, let's get our thing. Ooh, focus. Mm. Val Kilmer is Batman. Who thought that was a good idea? If there is one distinctive feature about Val Kilmer, it is that he has the most unique looking mouth that I possibly have ever seen. Even if you only see this much of Val Kilmer, you know exactly who it is because his mouth shape is so distinct. How does that work with Batman? Sorry, pet peeve. You know how people have their Doctor Who Miles Morales. Yeah, I love Miles Morales. I absolutely love Miles Morales. I do enjoy Tom Holland, but Miles Morales is the best Spider-Man. Actually, no, though, I just watched this new one. I loved the Indian Batman. He was awesome. His costume was, and that's what I watch a lot of this for. Just the visual effects were absolutely amazing. The Indian Batman was the Indian Spider-Man was absolutely fantastic. I probably would like the Barbie movie. It's just I don't go to the theaters. It's just not. I'll probably see it eventually. I also have a Barbie issue. My name is Barbara, but all through elementary, middle, and high school, I was called Barbie. And in elementary school, being called Barbie was traumatic because everybody wanted to know where Ken was, and everyone wanted to know if I had a pink Corvette or a pink dream house. It was kids are mean, and it was fairly traumatic. So I have some I have some issues. I have some trauma surrounding Barbie. But that is literally just because of my name. It has always as soon as I graduated college and I was able to introduce myself to people, I became Barbara. And, you know, it's lessened over time. So I can probably watch the Barbie movie and I will probably enjoy it. But Barbie is not at the top of my pop culture list. Mark, the bass player. I love crowds as long as I'm on stage and not in the middle of one. You know what, Mark? I could do that. I can totally do that. Being on stage, being in front of people, like teaching, it's being in the crowd that is, and especially as a short person, it gets a little claustrophobic. Um, okay, Spider-Verse was amazing. Yes, COVID did crush theaters. You know, Michael Keaton is the best movie Batman, but Adam West is Batman for me. Just like uh Christopher Reeve is Superman. I know there's a lot of other great Supermans, but Christopher Reeve is Superman for me. And Adam West is Superman. Him climbing up the side of the wall. Um, but you know what? I'll get there. I'll get there. Oh, bride Barbies and Barbies in wheelchairs. That is super cool. I'm not knocking Barbie. I know Barbie is amazing. Have you guys watched on Netflix the Toys That Made Us? It's a series they did, and it's a great series, and it's an 8-part documentary. It's an 8-part documentary series of the toys that made us grow, and the surprise. It's got a great little theme song it's like an 80s theme song, and they cover Barbie, they cover GI Joe, they cover He-Man, they cover like action figures, the Star Wars action figures. It's a great documentary series. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and the little opening song is just the best. um Absolutely the best. So you saw Dune. Oh, Marie saw Dune in the theater. It was on my list and I wanted to see it in the theater, but then that didn't happen. And again, it's just don't like theaters. um I know I saw something in the theater. I don't remember what. Uh, your husband and son met Adam West and Burt Ward. Oh, that is the best. I love that they did the voices of the two. What are the two in SpongeBob SquarePants? The Fish Boy and Aquaman or whatever. That is great. Heidi, I cannot imagine a crowd as a blind person. That that is Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. There we go. Sarah Jo got it. Adam West, and I believe that Adam West and Burt Ward did their voices, which is amazing. No, it was Sim Conway. I don't know. They were doing their imitations because it sounded so much like them. They're great though. It makes me think of them. I don't know. We are really getting off track. I'm sorry to anyone who watched this for the knitting contest. No. Oh, I got it wrong. But whatever. I got it wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong. I thought they did it, but I was wrong. I thought he did it, but whatever. It's funny. So I have mentioned, I believe, that I've gotten into a K-pop group and I watched some K-pop YouTube stuff. And this thing popped up and it was one of the K-pop singers, one of the K-pop guys. And it said he was doing a live stream on YouTube just like this. And he was doing a room tour, right? Because they just moved. I don't know. And he's giving a tour of his room. And it's this little tiny room. And it has just these huge glass cases. And let me tell you, this gentleman is like 6 foot tall, elegant, just mind-bendingly beautiful human being, incredibly talented. And this huge display case is all Star Wars Legos. It's all Star Wars Legos. And after the room tour took like 20 minutes, and then he sits down, and the rest of the hour and a half live stream was him talking to people and putting together Legos. He's like this man is late 20s, international star. And he's on a live stream putting Legos together. And then I go and look at it. It was like it happened 5 or 10 days ago. And like 250,000 people watched it. I'm like, 250,000 people watch this man spend an hour putting Legos together. People watch anything. It's just mind-boggling. Oh yes, Adam was that's Family Guy. He was the mayor of Family Guy. Powdered Toast Man, yeah. Did anything from Minnesota inspire a knitting pattern? That is really not the way my design process works. most of the time, my design process starts with yarn and playing with stitches. I'm not the kind of designer who is gonna see something like a beautiful scene or a building or any or architecture and like, oh, I want to reproduce that or it inspires something. Most of my patterns are inspired by technique or stitches. So no, nothing really. No, the answer is no. Nothing in Minnesota really inspired anything except for the community inspired me and reinvigorated me to want to design and to continue to interact, and to have fun, if that makes any sense. Science kit with what? Yeah, radioactive substances. Hmm. Lawn darts, lawn javelins, also good. The moon shoes. Moon shoes attempted to kill many children. Do any of y'all remember? Do they still make sit and spins? It's a great toy. You spin around in circles and then throw up. Um, there are all kinds. The hula coop. You guys remember the hula coop? They can't make those anymore. The hula coop was like is like a thing that you sit your baby in so their feet dangle and they have a plastic thing all around them and the legs go down to another plastic ring and it's on wheels so their little feet can like make them zoom around. My little brother apparently took one down a set of stairs, which is why they don't make them anymore. I mean, not specifically my brother doing that, but I'm pretty sure that's why they don't make them. I think they make the stationary ones now, but the mobile ones, I do not believe that they make anymore. Renee, thank you so much. I just got it re-dyed on Thursday, and I think it came out really well. We've got green and blue and teal in here. Actually, I wanted to make sure that my hair was going to be nice for my trip, and I had my appointment scheduled for the Saturday before I left, and I went to my hairdresser and waited for half an hour. And she didn't show up. And the woman who owned the salon was like, "This is really unlike her. Have you texted her?" So I texted her and she did not respond. And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm going to try to call her. That's very unlike her." I'm like, "I'd only ever seen her once before, so I don't really have anything to judge by." And so she called her and didn't get a response. So I went home. And then about an hour later, I got a text from my hairdresser saying that she was so sorry that she missed our appointment because she had gotten arrested for street racing and was unable to get to her phone. So she wasn't responding because she was in jail. So we rescheduled. We were scheduled and I wasn't able to get in until, no, it was 2 Saturdays before I was going to leave because we rescheduled for Tuesday and then I had COVID and I spent the week and a half with COVID. And so then I finally got in on the Thursday before I left. So of all the things that I thought, because I know that her mother had a heart attack and like she had family that was sick, and I was really concerned that maybe something had happened. Her being in jail was not on my list of things that I thought maybe was the issue with her missing my appointment. So, it was so whatever. She does a great job on my hair. You know, everybody has their own hobbies, I guess. I don't know. She said it was an unplanned um thing. So, she's somebody's daughter. And her dad's a tattoo artist, which is really cool. She's got a lot of really pretty tattoos. It was I don't know, but it's fun. Okay, I do have something that. So, hello? There we go. I thought I'd do this real quick. I got this from the publisher, and I'm going to be doing a book look on it. So this is something to look forward to. They wanted me to release it around October 10th. So I will probably, let's see here. I'll probably do it on the 12th because this is going to be available on the 10th for purchase. So probably not the first week of October, but the second week of October. So you can be looking forward to it. And I'm going to show y'all. It's going to be like a little baby unboxing for those y'all who are still here. And of course, y'all know I am horrible at this. Let me get some scissors. Okay, now what's going to be super funny is this has been sitting here unopened for several days. And if this isn't what I thought it was, this is going to be really, really funny. But I'm pretty sure that this is. It is. Excellent. So, dun, dun, dun. Is there anything else in here? Looky here. So this is Andrea Rangel's second book on stranded color work. And what is really awesome, this is her second one. I have the first one. It's called Alternate, I think. And these are original. She is an artist and her husband is an artist. So they work together and they design new stitch patterns and she makes them work. And these are new and innovative, different stranded color work patterns. So I am super excited. I'm just showing you the front because the book look is going to be looking through it and seeing all the awesome stuff that is in it. And they are willing to give me one as a giveaway. And by give me one, I mean I will do a drawing and they will ship it directly to somebody. They did say only the United States and Canada. And what I'll probably do is what I normally do is let everybody enter, because I use Rafflecopter, let everybody enter. And if the first person I pick is not in the United States or Canada, I will give them digital patterns out of my own library and then draw again until I get, if I get multiple but US and Canada is the only thing they're willing to ship to. But I will make sure that if I do initially draw someone who's non-US or Canada, that I will send them something digitally. So that'll be taken care of. I'm not going to say you can't enter, but if they won't ship it. And I understand shipping books gets very, very expensive. I once had to ship something to Australia and oh my gosh, it was expensive. So look forward to this and I can't wait, but I'm not going to look at it. I'm not looking in it. I'm sticking it over here, dropping stuff. There we go. I'm excited. Okay, so Heidi, I don't know if you've had the question, but how is the new store owners going? It's going just fine. And I really want to leave it at that. I had a very special relationship with the previous owner, a very close relationship. I am not yet as close with the new owners, so I don't feel particularly comfortable talking about I work there and we have fun yarn there and it's a great store and I would love to have you come see me if you are in the area. And if you don't get enough of me, you can always watch me on Wednesdays for what's hot in the shop. But talking about it at any length, I'd rather not do that. It's just, there's not really anything to say because the owners don't live here in Sarasota. The owners live in Winter Haven. And so I've had very little interaction with them. The store is pretty much going the same way the store always goes, just without the previous owner. So we got fun yarn and that's what we play with. And I have lots of fun people who come in and we get to play with yarn together. But I don't know the new owners very well. It seems to be going just fine. So I'm excited about the book. And so you can look forward to that in October. Yeah, I would love for you to come see me, Heidi, but I totally understand if that's not in the books. You can always come and watch on Wednesdays. So do we have any questions? Any knitting questions? We seem to have gone all over the place today. Not that I mind. If you don't mind, I don't mind going all over the place, because this is really the kind of conversations I would have at my knitting groups when we would get together. And I kind of consider y'all my knitting group. You know what? Speaking of that, I was having a little direct message chat with someone who is in the sidebar, and floating the idea. Now, this would not replace this. We would continue to do this because I know there are people that just like this format. But if I can figure it out, and I did some Googling, the technology involved in integrating a Zoom call into a live stream. Apparently, there's a way to do that. And then you wouldn't have to be typing, but I don't know how that would work. I don't know if everybody would talk at the same time, but turn it into like a YouTube knit night kind of thing. I'm not I'm being very, it's very amorphous. I don't know how this would be done, but it'd be kind of like, I think I'd have to pay for the full version of Zoom because right now I only have the free part. And have people come in, and now obviously anyone who wanted to do it would have to be comfortable with the fact that their face would be on YouTube, which is one of the reasons why I said it wouldn't replace this. Because I definitely know there are people who aren't going to be comfortable with that idea of their face maybe being on YouTube. But what do y'all think about that? We can still talk about needles, Arnetta. We're not done yet. Okay. I'm currently knitting my first socks. It's been a learning process. Any sock knitting? I'm so sorry, Amanda. I don't knit socks. And this always happens because you ask me about stuff and I don't do socks. The woman at my store, the store I work at, who teaches socks, always recommends Hermione's Everyday Sock off of Ravelry. So let me see if I can get a link to that. Here we go. So she always recommends this one to people. I know there are tons of books on sock knitting, and it's a hugely popular thing, but I'm afraid I don't have any. And you know what? I think, hang on. Here, one at a time. Here is Ruth Brash is a wonderful designer. And here is a Knit Your First Toe Up Sock Part 1. And I'm sure that it links to there are 3 videos. So you can see the videos, and it has 93,000 views. So that could probably be a really good choice for you if you're looking for a video. I know Ruth, I know she is really, really an excellent instructor. So there's 2 sources for you. So Veronica, I understand that. I understand why a closed one would be better, but part of the reason why I do this is to build the community on YouTube, and to build my YouTube community. And if it's closed, then people won't see it and find it and join. So it's one of the reasons why I do this live. It's why the videos are all available to anyone who chooses to do it, because it is, I'm always wanting to welcome new new knitters, new fiber artists, and I don't mean like new knitters as in beginning knitters. I just mean that knitters that haven't found me yet. I always want to welcome them. So I do understand the closed Zoom night. I understand the desire for that, but it doesn't really fall into what I'm trying to do. Does that make any sense? Crazy sock lady. Knit crochet, avoid like the plague. Yes, I'm not a sock knitter. Slips. There's a lot of people. There are a lot of designers who are awesome with socks, which makes me feel much better about the fact that I don't do socks. It's just I'm not a sock person. Um, there is a vanilla sock. There's all kinds of amazing socks. Knit Pearl Hunter is great. All kinds of things there. So there might be a little interest in the Zoom thing. I can see if I can explore that. Definitely not something that's it might be something for next year because the year's going to end before you even know it. So I've got October, and then y'all know I'm going to be gone for the entire month of November, and then it's December, and December's just my son's birthday is in September, and every holiday in the freaking world is in December. So so maybe for next year we can explore that. Um so okay. So always gonna have sock questions one of these days. Yeah, Heidi, there is a way, because I Googled it. Apparently there is a way to put those multi-square Brady Bunch style Zoom classes and integrate it and broadcast it to YouTube live. So it's happening live on YouTube. But I don't know. It might be too complicated because I still can't figure out how to get my YouTube to recognize my other software that allowed me to do the screen sharing. Because if I could do the screen sharing, I would have been able to help with the slip stitches, and you could have seen me looking at Ravelry, and you could have seen me all kind. But I don't know why YouTube has decided it doesn't like me. It's just rude. It's just totally rude. Okay. Do not try to learn sock knitting double pointed needles when you can't see anything. No, that sounds like a particularly bad choice, Heidi. The sockmatician. There you go. See, so many socks. So many socks. The people who love sock knitting love sock knitting. Okay, so I showed you the book. That was the only thing I really had prepared. It's the only thing I really had prepared. And we've had a lot of fun talking about a lot of not particularly knitting related things. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. So what can we do on this? What would you like to see? Because I started thinking, as I told you, I watched the guy. I mean, I didn't watch it for any length of time. He's just putting together Legos. I mean, I could look through books. I trying to come up with things that y'all might find interesting that we could do. My husband was like, well, you can just knit and they can watch you knit. And I'm like, that sounds super boring to me. I would have to definitely reorient my camera because if you want to see me knitting, but yeah, that does not sound interesting to me, but maybe some people would find it interesting. I could definitely talk, but knitting and reading the chat at the same time might be challenging, which takes us back to the idea of doing the Zoom, because then it would be hands-free. So that is a different thing. Amanda, you did the second sock pattern because you had the yarn but was afraid to start socks. Oh, don't be afraid of socks. You might fall in love with them. I'm not saying that socks aren't amazing things to knit. It's just not amazing things for me to knit because I don't like socks. I mean, I did 1 year, and I think I even talked about it here on the channel. I had 1 year I declared the year of socks, and I was going to do a pair of socks every month. And I knit a sock in January, and then December came around. And I was like, I should probably knit that second sock. So at least I finished 1 pair of socks in the year of socks, and I think I did. Socks are not. Maybe I can try again. A lot of people swear by 2 at a time. The other problem is I just don't wear socks. I live in Florida. Socks are not high on my list of things to wear. Um, yes, my Sarah Joe, you are right. My channel is literally called Watch Barbara Knit. And I've had to have people comment in the comments on some videos where they're like, "You need to talk less and knit more. This isn't called Watch Barbara Talk." I'm like, "Well, thank you. Enjoy." I'm sorry my free content does not meet your standards. You like to see some of my favorite needles and yarn. Oh, somebody asked what my favorite new yarn in the store is. Um, it's not a new yarn, but it's new to the store, and it's called Road to China Light. And I was playing with it yesterday, and I literally like carried it around the store and pet it like I was Dr. Evil. I'm like, "Ooh, my pretty, I have $5 million for this." Um, and I need to get the exact. So it's Fiber Company Road to China Light, and it is a sport weight yarn, which I love sport weight yarns. And the content of it is just why does this not have enough information? I need more information. This website is not giving me the information that I want. It is a blend of cashmere, camel, silk, and baby alpaca. And it comes in jewel tone colors. And I love jewel tones, but cashmere, camel, silk, and baby alpaca. It is so soft and so delicious, and it's sport weight. And I absolutely want to knit like 18 things in it. It's just absolutely beautiful. So that one right now is the one I'm fixated on. Um, Quilting bees, yeah. Oh, the cost of it? Um, so I don't know. I honestly don't know how much it costs. I I don't even know that I looked at the price because I haven't bought it. I'm just saying that I like it. I mean, it's in the store. It's staying in the store right now. I'm afraid I do not know how much it costs, but it is not it is 50-gram skeins, and I think it's in the 20 something dollar range. It is a relatively expensive yarn because it is entirely luxury fibers. But you could probably get a small pair of fingerless mitts, or a small cowl, or one of those Sophie scarves that everybody's making. You could definitely do one of those with it. To do really anything, you're going to need 100 grams, which is going to be two skeins, and it's definitely going to be in the $40 to $50 range. So it is not a cheap yarn, but it is so soft. It's just so soft. Just because I like it doesn't mean it's necessarily coming home with me. It is such a delicious yarn. Whether talking or knitting or even playing with Legos, it's a fun evening hanging out here. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you being here. It is. I want to find ways to make it more fun. I don't really know what to do. I mean, I know that people watch Twitch streamers play like video games for like hours on end, which I have a hard time with. And I am horrible at the game I play, so nobody wants to watch that. I don't know that anybody watches somebody play video games badly because I am not good at my game. But the jewel tones I really like. Yeah, cost is a completely separate. Yes. So Miss Babs has the new sport weight. It's called Laurel Falls. And it's actually really interesting in that it is merino, but it's a very special kind of merino called Shiniko. And Shiniko is a special it's like a specific ranch, and it's a merino rambouillet mix, and it's like the way the farming is done. It's like here, okay, they're they're specifically selected and bred for not only consistent, fine, long staple wool, but for their ability to thrive on the open pasture in range conditions while giving back to the land as they eat their way through harmful flora, helping the land to thrive. The Shiniko Wool Company and their partner ranches have been managing and enhancing natural resources for decades. The 7 family ranches have each been tending sheep continuously for more than 100 years. It is Shiniko Wool Company is the first farm group to be in the United States to be certified under the Global Responsible Wool Standard developed by the Textile Exchange. It's like a really special. It's a really special yarn. We do not have it in the store yet. And actually, but since you mentioned it, I am actually working on a pattern in Laurel Falls. It is here in my bag. And now that the yarn is out, I was knitting on it, but I couldn't show it to people because the yarn wasn't out yet. But this is the pattern I'm working on. It has a really, really great bouncy feel. And since it's a 3-ply, it has really good stitch definition. It is not brioche, Sarah Jo. That was my mean face. You like my mean face? Oh, this is the color you bought? Oh, that is hilarious. So this is it. And actually, you know what? I need to figure out where my tag is. I think it's in a different bag because I've forgotten what color it is. It's in a different bag, I think. Ugh, I need to do that tomorrow. But yeah, so this is it. I'm working on a new piece. This is very deliberately a unisex piece. I wanted it to be, I'm probably going to photograph it on my husband. Whenever I do a unisex piece, I try to photograph it on a guy because I have found that women have a much easier time looking at something on a guy and imagining it styled in a feminine way. But if I style it in a feminine way on a woman, especially people have a difficult time imagining it styled in a masculine way. So I always knit unisex pieces in what I consider to be a more masculine leaning color, or at least a gender neutral color. And so, but the cool thing about this is that it is completely reversible. This that I'm showing you is the wrong side. This is the right side. And you can tell because it has my marker on it. So this is the right side. And this is the wrong side. And it's really boingy. So I am working on this. So the Laurel Falls is a very nice yarn and I'm enjoying it. Oh, what scarves? Heidi Cook. So the Sophie, it's called the Sophie scarf. Everybody is freaking knitting them. It's like everybody and their brother is knitting this thing. There we go. There's the Sophie scarf. It takes a very small amount of yarn, and it's just like a little neck thing. She had a show at your LIS. That is awesome, Trish. Yeah, Sophie scarf by Petite Net. You watch Animal Crossing streamers. Oh my goodness. I see. I don't understand. I mean, but I watch World of Warcraft streamers sometimes. So, it's whatever interests you. Yes. Finish when you run out of yarn. My husband does not look like Riker. He has a goatee and more gray than one would think. No, the Sophie scarf only has one color. It's a kind of shady picture though. But yeah, I think it's awesome that you actually mentioned Laurel Falls because I was debating whether or not to show you the new shawl. But it was meant to be. Okay. But so this, I really like sport weight yarn. I like sport weight yarn because since the stitches are bigger, they have a little bit more presence to them, which really helps me when I'm doing mosaic color work, but also like in the one I just showed you, that column, it's got a little more punch to it. But sport is not as heavy as DK. So, and you can get further faster with sport than you can with fingering weight. I just like sport. Sport is good. I like it. Okay. So, okay. We have nothing else here. Thank you all so much for joining me. We have talked an excessive amount tonight, but I really appreciate it. As I said, y'all feel like my knit group, even if we're not necessarily knitting. The piece I was working on. No, it is only one color. Okay, Heidi, I'm sorry. Yes, the piece I am working on is only one color. It's what you are probably perceiving as a second color is that it has ridges on it, and the ridges are very distinct. And it's alternating between garter and then like a knit column. So you were probably perceiving it as having two different colors, but it is just one solid color. So yeah, sport isn't okay. Sport isn't so okay. Yarn weights in thickness. Lace is the skinniest. You have lace, fingering, sport, DK, worsted, Aran, bulky, super bulky. That is the weights in order. And and each one is a step. But thank you all so much. Hello, Knitwitch. I don't know that I saw you come in. If you came in and said something and I didn't see it, I apologize. Thank you all so much for joining me. We will definitely have one. I might be a little bit of a space cadet because we'll be getting ready for our trip, but we will have let me double check. October. What does October look like? So it looks like the 26th will be fine because I don't leave till the 5th. So the 26th of October, we will do another live. As I said, the second week of October will be the book look for the new Andrea Rangel book. So you definitely want to get in on that and maybe enter to win it. Oh, you're excited about the pattern? I'm so glad, Trish. And again, hopefully I will get that pattern done and out next month. I believe I'm going to call it Rev It Up, REV It Up, because it's reversible. I don't know why. It just came to me. Actually, I brought, but it's a secret. And I love sportwear. And it was great. Thank you all so much. And thank you for your patience this month. This month has been a very taxing month in trying to get stuff done. And unfortunately videos did not make the top of the list when I was sick on the couch. You did not want me making videos when I had COVID. It was not good. I mean, I wasn't horrible, but I was, bleh. It would have been a bad video. And my voice, you can already hear that my voice is going. I can't sustain all this talking as much. I start losing it because I'm still having some congestion issues and everything. Yes, Mark, I can't wait. Rev it up, man. So we will have a lot of fun. Thank you, and I will see you next time. As always, if you have any questions or just want to chat in the Facebook group, I try to check it multiple times a day. So y'all have fun, and thank you, and I will see you later, and I need to find the right button. Oh, come on. There it is.